Muchísimas gracias, WMSU Grand Choral. You may now have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, this May 9, 2022, we will once again make our move. The Filipino people, particularly us Zamboangueños, will be choosing our leaders to lead the local government of Zamboanga City. Now more than ever, the youth holds the ultimate power to make a change. In this day's event, we will know more about the candidates, plans, goals, and capabilities in the different positions. Hence, the Western Mindanao State University, in partnership with the Commission on Higher Education, the Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University, and the Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology, brings you Voters Education Forum. This activity is part of the mandate of higher education to reach out to its internal and external communities to make quality education accessible, including the responsibility of educating voters about their rights and to respond to the different issues and concerns, particularly in the tertiary education. Which candidates deserve the youth's vote? How will they choose to lead our very own Asia's Latin City? This and more are only here in the 2022 Youth Voters Education Forum. Isang mapagpalang umaga po sa lahat. Buenos dias a todos. Assalamualaikum. Maayong buntag sa tanan and a pleasant morning to each and everyone. Once again, welcome to the 2022 Youth Voters Education Forum. And before we commence, it is my distinct pleasure to acknowledge our guests and officials for today's event. We have Dr. Rody P. Garcia, Regional Director, Commission on Higher Education 9. And of course, joining us also today are the presidents of the different state universities and colleges in our city. We have Dr. Maria Carla A. Ochotorena, President of Western Mindanao State University. Dr. Nelson P. Cabral, President of Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University. And Dr. Jaime G. Halon, President of the Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology. Joining us also are some officials from the Commission on Higher Education, COMELEC officials, some high officials and faculty members from the 3 state universities and colleges, our PIA officials, our media partners, and of course, our student audience from WMSU, ZPPSU, and Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology. We also have our congressional candidates, mayoral candidates, and vice mayoral candidates whose goals, stances on different questions and plans for the education sector and beloved city will get to know throughout this forum. And now to welcome us all for today's momentous event, let us all welcome Dr. Maria Carla A. Ochotorena, President of Western Mindanao State University, for her welcome remarks. Let us give her a warm round of applause.
Dr. Rody Garcia, the OIC Regional Director of the Commission on Higher Education Regional Office 9. Dr. Nelson Cabral, the President of the Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University. Dr. Jaime Halon, the President of Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology. Dr. Shamir Kasim, the Education Supervisor 2 of CHED Regional Office 9. Our COMELEC representative, the Congressional, Mayoral, and Vice Mayoral candidates of Districts 1 and 2. Mr. Belsi Agustin, the President of the Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas, Ms. Mayoral Espinosa of the Philippine Information Agency, the Vice Presidents of the three SUCs, university officials, students, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga, maayong buntag, and buenos dias a todos. Elections are the lifeline of democracy, the basis of any democracy for that matter. It ensures that the power resides within the people and stays with the people. The upcoming May 2022 national and local election is just within the corner, and yet many are still undecided about who to vote for or even unsure about whether they should vote at all. According to the Commission on Elections, 66.9 million people are projected to cast ballots in the May 2022 elections, with young Filipinos accounting for 52% of the total registered voters, with more than 4 million first-time voters between the ages of 18 and 21 years old. In Zamboanga City alone, the voting population is already 405,000, with a substantial proportion of them belonging to the millennial generation. For an election to be successful and democratic, voters must understand their rights and responsibilities and must be sufficiently knowledgeable and well-informed to participate in this democratic process. It is in this light that we in the academe, through the initiative of the Commission on Higher Education Region 9 Office, the Western Mindanao State University, together with the Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University and Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology, came up with this Youth Voters Education Forum. This collaborative endeavor is geared towards informing and educating and inspiring our young constituents to actively and responsibly participate in the upcoming May 2022 polls. This is to bring Franklin Roosevelt's words to life, who remarked, "Democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely." The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. This Youth Voters Education Forum indeed fulfills our societal obligation as higher academic institutions in the promotion and advancement of the socio-economic and cultural growth of this country by providing unbiased, non-partisan information about the candidates so that our young people and citizens can actively participate in the upcoming electoral process. This campaign also hopes to empower the youth, particularly our students, to become wise voters for the upcoming 2021 national and local elections. Voting is a right best exercised by people who have taken time to learn about the issues. And so, we encourage our young voters in this forum to listen well and educate yourselves on the candidates' platforms and review their performances in order for you to make informed decisions when you cast your votes, your ballots on election day. In each of us is the power to change the world, and I believe much of that power, as well as the challenges of ensuring a vibrant democracy, lies in our youth. To our young people, remember that your participation today and in the coming 2022 national and local election will dictate the democracy you will have tomorrow. And so I would like to extend my deepest appreciation and thanks to all the candidates for responding positively to our call. And the same goes to the Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas, headed by its president, Mr. Belsi Agustin, and of course, Ms. Mayoral Espinosa of the Philippine Information Agency. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome everyone to this Youth Forum today. Miles de gracias a todos. Mi saludo y amor para todos.
Muchísimas gracias, ma'am, for that warm welcome. And I believe that we're all excited about today's event. But before we commence, let us all listen to the rationale or a message to be given by Dr. Rody P. Garcia, Regional Director, Commission on Higher Education 9.
Thank you so much to our host for today's engagement. And of course, I would like to thank my partners, the three very proactive and dynamic presidents of state universities and colleges, particularly our host institution, the Western Mindanao State University. Thank you. Thank you so much for your presence today. Indeed, this is a very significant gathering of our local candidates for these 2022 elections. I would like also to thank our COMELEC representative and our panelists who are with us. Thank you for giving us your time today. Before I will give you my message, I want you to know that this event made possible through a resolution, an en-banc approved resolution of the Commission on Higher Education. Let me read a portion of this resolution. Resolution number 125, Series 2022. Resolved, and it's hereby resolved, that in view of the recommendation of the Commission on Higher Education, Regional Office 9, and upon discussion and agreement with the concurrence of the National Directorate, the Commission approved the partnership of state colleges and universities located in Zamboanga City and Chet RO9 to conduct a youth voters education initiative. This is the first time that such activity being conducted in the country, and we start it here right now in Zamboanga City. Part of the resolution is to encourage all regional offices to conduct the same youth education forum to more or less our youth may probably get the right orientation and information relative to the agenda of our local candidates for this election 2022. Of course, I would like to formally welcome everyone, in particular, as I made mention, to our three presidents, Dr. Carla Ochotorena, the President of Western Mindanao State University, Dr. Nelson Cabral, the President of Zamboanga Polytechnic, Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University, Dr. Jaime G. Halon of Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology, the representatives from the the Philippine Information Agency, the PIA, my colleagues from the Commission on Higher Education, and of course, everyone who are with us today, good morning, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Suffrage may be exercised by all citizens of the Philippines who are not otherwise disqualified by law, who are at least 18 years old, and who have resident in the Philippines for at least 1 year, and in the place where they intend to vote for at least 6 months immediately preceding the election. This is according to Article 5 of the Philippine Constitution. The exercise of suffrage or other substantive requirements. Furthermore, it is the state's responsibility to convey knowledge about these rights of its citizens. In recognition of the importance of higher education in the formation of youth leadership and critical thinking for the advancement and development of socio-economic and cultural progress, CHED RO9's partner, SUCS, Western Mindanao State University, the Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University, the Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology, we are hosting this Youth Voters Education Forum 2022. According to a news article by CNN Philippines published online on February 28, 2022, more than half of the 65.7 million voters in the country are between ages 18 and 41. A prime mover on May 2022 elections results, according to the Commission on Elections. Official statistics show that the youth will play a huge role in deciding the next national and local leaders. A total of 37,15,901 fall under the age bracket, accounting for 56% of our local voters. Hence, it is just befitting to conduct such forum for correct and rightful information from the local leaders aspirants. This forum will act as a conduit for information, allowing voters, particularly students, to analyze and select candidates who will support the growth and improvement of higher education in the region. Congratulations for the conduct of this activity. Such engagement is a manifestation of the partnership of the regional office and the SUCS towards betterment and development through conscientiously choosing rightful leaders for our city. Once again, good morning and God bless us all.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a warm round of applause to Dr. Rody P. Garcia, Regional Director of Commission on Higher Education 9. All right, moving on with our program, allow me to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed and respected moderators and panelists for this day's forum. Our first moderator, ladies and gentlemen, he finished his BS in Accountancy as cum laude at Ateneo de Zamboanga University. He also finished his Bachelor of Laws at Western Mindanao State University. A former college accounting instructor, lecturer at Ateneo de Zamboanga University. He has been a Chief of Staff, Director 3 of the Office of the Presidential Assistant for Western Mindanao, Office of the President of the Philippines, the Vice Chairman and member of the Board of Directors Employers Confederation of the Philippines, Zamboanga Chapter. He is a member of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Zamboanga Chapter, and a member of the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants of the Zamboanga Basilan Chapter. Currently, a managing partner of We Seat and Rubio Law Offices, formerly Rubio Law and Accounting Office. He is a lawyer, a certified public accountant, and a licensed real estate broker. Ladies and gentlemen, our first moderator and panelist, Attorney Carl Andrew M. Rubio. Our second moderator, ladies and gentlemen, he finished his Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Master of Nursing, major in Psychiatric Health, and Bachelor of Laws at Western Mindanao State University. He is currently taking his Master of Laws at San Beda University, Manila. Awarded as one of the 5 outstanding Zamboangueño young leaders, Senator Rosalier Lim Youth Leadership Award in 2015 by the City Government of Zamboanga. He is the Chapter Director of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Zambasulta. He is also the Chair of the Board of Directors of WMSU Alumni Association. He is the President of Western Mindanao Labor Management Cooperation and a member of the Research Ethics Committee, Zamboanga Consortium for Health Research and Development. At present, he is the University Legal Officer and the Chair for Research Ethics Oversight Committee of the Zamboanga Peninsula, Polytechnic State University. Ladies and gentlemen, our second moderator and panelist, Attorney Marty W. Gregorio. Our third moderator, ladies and gentlemen, graduated cum laude of Bachelor of Science in Mass Communication at Ateneo de Zamboanga University. She finished in 2013 her Bachelor of Laws at Western Mindanao State University. At present, she's taking her Master's of Laws at San Beda University. She is also the chapter president of the Legal Network for Truthful Elections in 2010 to 2011, and of course, a consultant of the Centro Advocacia Legal Human Rights and Legal Aid Center in WMSU in 2014. At present, she is also a member of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. She was a volunteer of the Anti-Trafficking in Women who participated in and volunteered for the project of the Women's Desk of the Ateneo Human Rights Center Against Human Trafficking. She was also an administrative aide of the Office of the Regional Prosecutor, Region 9, from June 2012 to April 2013. She was a junior associate of Diallo Bongabong and Associates Law Office from July 2014 and at present. She was a former Attorney 3 of the Department of Education, Zamboanga City Division. And at present, she is Associate Professor 3 and a regular faculty at the WMSU College of Law. And she is a partner of the Rivero Medalla Law Office, who handles civil, criminal, labor, and administrative cases. Ladies and gentlemen, our third moderator, Attorney Irma Marie Medalla Rivero. And our last moderator, ladies and gentlemen, was a DOST SEI scholarship recipient and graduated cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Physics at Western Mindanao State University. He also finished his Master of Science in Teaching Physics at the same university. He is a recipient of the CHED K-12 Transition Scholarship Program at the University of San Carlos, Cebu City, where he completed his academic requirements for a Doctor of Philosophy in Physics. He is a National Master Trainer for Design Thinking and served as a resource person for national and local training. He is a regular contributor and resource person at the Samahang Pisika ng Visayas at Mindanao, and he authored research publications on data analytics and science education in Scopus Index journals. Currently, he is designated as the Assistant Director of the Quality Assurance Office of Western Mindanao State University and an esteemed faculty member of the College of Science and Mathematics Physics Department. Ladies and gentlemen, our last moderator and panelist, Assistant Professor Vincale A. Shason. And before we commence, let us all be reminded that there are guidelines that we need to follow for a smooth and comprehensive flow in our forum today. With this, let us all welcome Attorney Irma Rivero for the reading of the guidelines during the duration of the forum for the candidates and for our students. Let us give her a warm round of applause.
Good morning. The guidelines. The sequence of presentation of candidates will be identified through a manual lottery before the forum proper will start. Any candidate who signifies his or her intention to participate after the sequence of presentation has been identified will be automatically disqualified. Each candidate will be asked 2 questions. He or she will draw out the question through a manual lottery. The candidate is given a maximum of 3 minutes to respond to each question. The question and the timer will be flashed through a monitor and the LED wall. And after 2 minutes and 50 seconds, a buzzer sound will be heard. The microphone will be muted after 3 minutes. The moderators will ask follow-up questions after the candidate has given his or her response. The candidate has 1 minute to answer each follow-up question. A 1-minute timer will be flashed through the monitor or the LED wall. And after 45 seconds, a buzzer sound will be heard. The microphone will also be muted after 1 minute. The second question will be manually drawn out only after all the candidates of the same electoral position have given their answer. The response of the candidate may be in English or in the vernacular. The candidate should avoid provocative and rebuttal statements. Any candidate who does such will be warned by the moderators. If he or she continues to do so after a warning, the microphone may be muted upon the signal of the moderators. Distribution of any campaign paraphernalia inside the campus before and after the event is strictly prohibited. Candidates are not allowed to bring any cheat sheet or any electronic devices during the proceedings, such as cell phones, earpods, and smartwatches. The candidates are expected to attend the opening program. Before the forum proper will start for the first electoral position, which is the mayor, the candidates will be ushered through the holding area, which is the social hall. They will be ushered back to the venue as soon as the forum proper for the next electoral position will start. A violation of any of the stipulated guidelines shall disqualify the candidate from joining the forum. After the forum, the candidates may stay or leave if they wish to do so. This activity will push through with a minimum of 2 candidates per electoral position. We would like to remind the candidates that this is a non-partisan activity and distribution of paraphernalia within these premises is strictly prohibited. The questions that will be asked are focused on the issues and areas of concern in the higher education institution and the youth. These came from the 3 SUCs, the Western Mindanao State University, Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University, and Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Attorney Irma Rivero. So it was clearly emphasized, ladies and gentlemen, in the guidelines, the things that our candidates and of course our dear student audience must bear in mind. All right? This time, ladies and gentlemen, we shall be having the drawing of lots by our candidates. This will help us determine the sequence of whose candidate will be the first one to respond to the questions, and of course, to be prompted as to the sequence of the forum proper. May we welcome up on stage our mayoral candidates for the drawing of lots. We have 4 mayoral candidates who are present today. We have Attorney Romel Samonte Agan. We have, of course, Cesar Floreta Climaco. We have Cesar Ledesma Jimenez Jr. And of course, we have Celso Lobregat. To our other candidates who may now proceed to our holding area, we have our ushers who will assist you in the WMSU Social Hall. All right? Okay, you have number 2, sir. You may proceed to the second seat. Number 4 for Celso Lobregat's ear po. All right. Thank you very much. You may take your seat. Thank you very much po. To our dear audience, are you ready? Ready ba ustedes? How about our candidates? Are you all ready po? Yes, I am very much assured that we are all ready for today. So for our number 1, we have, of course, Cesar Ledesma Jimenez Jr. For number 2, we have Cesar Climaco. For number 3, we have Attorney Romel Agan. And for number 4, we have Celso Lobregat. A warm round of applause, please, for our mayoral candidates. So once again, requesting our other candidates of the other positions, you may now proceed to our holding area located at the WMSU Social Hall. Muchísimas gracias. All right. I believe that we are now ready. Reminders to our candidates on stage. You will answer 2 questions and be given a maximum of 3 minutes to respond to each question. The microphone will automatically be muted after the given time. For the follow-up question given by our moderator, you're only given 1 minute to respond. And of course, the timer will start after our moderators will ask each question. And you're going to use the podium there. All right, maybe request our organ or our piano to please move a little at the side so that we will be able to see the monitor here. Again, maybe request our organ to please place it at the side so that we can see the monitor. Muchas gracias. And maybe request also our lights. Medyo it's too glary here on stage, requested by our candidates. Thank you. All right, so let's start the ball rolling. Let us welcome our moderators and panelists for the mayoral position, Attorney Irma Rivero and Attorney Marty Gregorio. Okay, so for our candidates, You will pick the questions and I'm going to read the number. All right, let's start with our number 1. We have Cesar Jawo Jimenez. All right. Cesar Jawo Jimenez, pick question number 9. May we request the lights to please minimize? It's too glary here. Requested by our candidate. Thank you.
Good morning, Attorney Jimenez. The question is, one of the major challenges in the education sector is the virtual delivery of education. What reforms can you introduce to achieve the 3 E's, the effectiveness, efficiency, and economy?
Your timer starts now.
Good morning po sa atin lahat. Una po sa lahat, maraming salamat sa mga organizers natin for today's activity. And of course, sa lahat ng mga estudyante ngayon na nandito and to all those watching in Facebook, thank you for your time. The question regarding the virtual delivery of education, what can we do to introduce to achieve efficiency, effectiveness, and economy? Well, the virtual delivery of education or virtual education, like the modules that the education sector is implementing right now, firstly, we have to admit that it has a lot of to achieve. Meaning, marami pa tayong kailangan gawin para ma-achieve yung purpose na dahil po sa pandemya, dahil sa COVID-19, we opted to another mode of education. Hindi na po kagaya ng dati na face-to-face class ang ginagawa natin. And after 2 years from the pandemic, nakita natin na iba pa rin ang face-to-face class. That virtual education, like the modules, like online class, has a lot of challenges. Just yesterday, I met a young lady, a student from trade school. Sinabi niya na she had to stop schooling because of the pandemic. Sabi nga ng iba, libre el tuition na trade school, pero porque el bata, ya para pa na studio. Simple as 50 pesos for mobile data that magamit niya for 3 days, hindi kaya ng isang pamilya. Just imagine a very poor family kung saan nag-struggle na of financial difficulties even before COVID nangyari pang pandemya. Imagine niyo kung saan pa kukuha ang bata even 50 pesos na hindi may provide ng parents natin. So ano kailangan natin gawin? Effectiveness, we have to bring our teachers to the students nearer. Hindi lang pwede iwan yung module sa kanila and tapos na. Dapat po continuing ang so-called face-to-face classes natin. Pag iniwan yung module sa kanila, let's make sure na habang sinasagot, ginaguide ng mga teachers natin yung mga bata. Efficiency. Efficiency in relating to effectiveness. Ano ba yung pwede pa nating gawin to help our teachers para magiging mas efficient ang kanilang role sa virtual education? Yan dyan na yung training for them and how to equip them even better para maging up-to-date sila sa mga kailangan nilang gawin. And economy, that is where the city government can come.
Time is up. For the follow-up question, sir.
As a follow-up, Attorney Jimenez, if given the opportunity to lead Zamboanga City, what will be your administration's priority program for your first 100 days in office?
Your 1 minute.
Yes, for our first 100 days, as we really voice out in our campaign, is free education. Free tuition fee in college for Zamboangan students. It is about time, kahit po sa state universities natin, kung saan libre ang tuition, marami pa rin bata sa atin, marami sa mga anak natin ang i-struggle. Same thing, even more so sa mga private institutions natin, sa mga private schools, kung saan pati pang tuition nila, hindi na alam ng mga bata, ng mga nanay kung saan kunin. So that is where I feel the city government can come in by providing more funds and making it easier sa mga bata natin, sa mga anak natin, na magiging parte sila ng social scholarship program that is sponsored by the city government of Zamboanga City.
All right. Muchísimas gracias, Cesar Jimenez Jr. of the Nationalist People's Coalition. All right. Next, let's welcome Cesar Climaco. Sir, you may proceed there. All right. Cesar Climaco, pick number 5.
Good morning.
Should I read the question or you'll read it?
Our moderator po will read the question.
Good morning, sir. Number 5 question. How do you propose to improve disaster risk reduction management in higher education institutions?
This is a very interesting question. Thank you for attending, and I have a good idea about improving disaster risk reduction management. One, people will think there was a pandemic, but there was no pandemic in the Philippines. If our higher education, our doctors studied the statistics with high vitamin D levels of 30 to 60, I think nobody will die below 50 from the virus. They will be asymptomatic. So what was the risk reduction? We all panicked. Follow this mask mandate, social distancing, and all the other lockdown that the nations in the temperate zones followed. They had very low vitamin D levels. We had high vitamin D levels in the Philippines. So, how to mitigate risk? Study the matter. Don't panic. Sweden did not lock down. Sweden did not lock down. At present, in America, the airlines do not need to wear, or the passengers do not need to wear masks. Here, all of you are required to wear masks. This is because of ignorance. So how to mitigate disasters is by information. We did not get good information from our government, and the problem was the government. If they studied the medical literature, masks don't help or does not help. Lockdowns did not help. So how do you mitigate a disaster like the pandemic? By knowledge. Higher education should have led the nation to stop the foolishness of the lockdown. That is my take. Now, there is another risk that is maybe coming to our country. That is the war in the Ukraine. If Putin uses nuclear weapons, we will have a fallout. How are we ready with potassium iodide to give to all our citizens to prevent thyroid cancer? I have a lot of potassium iodide at home. I bought it by the kilo in America.
All right, time is up. For the follow-up question, Attorney Irma.
Thank you for that, sir. So the local government has no option but to follow national regulations. So, for example, in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, we have national regulations directing the people to practice social distancing, etc. So, every time there is a new leadership in the local government, the continuity in the delivery of the service becomes a problem. In terms of how the local government, the current local government addressed the pandemic, Mr. Climaco, what programs of the current administration do you wish to continue?
Ma'am, could you repeat the question because it was so long, I don't know what was your
Okay.
question.
So, the local government has no option but to follow national regulations, like the IATF, they have regulations. So, the current local government has implemented certain programs and services to address the COVID-19 pandemic. Specifically for the higher education, what programs or services of the current administration will you continue once you are elected in office?
First, for any problem, I would suggest the higher education students and professors study the problem, divide them into two, one for lockdown or whatever they want, and one for no lockdown. They should study the problem and have a good discussion, not just one-sided group in Manila deciding by a General Galvez, lockdown. Actually, it was Duterte who decided on the lockdown. They should have studied the reasons of Sweden. Why no lockdown? No lockdown of schools. And our higher education, that is what we should teach the people or the children. Critical thinking. Critical thinking. And have a good discussion rather than send.
Thank you very much, Cesar Climaco. Once again, a warm round of applause, please. Thank you very much, Attorney Irma, for that. And now let's have Attorney Meng Agan. Sir? Attorney Meng Agan, take question number 12.
Good morning, Attorney Agan. The question is, what difference have you made that you can say that this is your legacy to the education system here in Zamboanga City?
Querido kong poblanos, buenos dias a todos. Assalamualaikum. Sa akong mga kaliwat nilang kilat dagoy lapu-lapu, maayong buntag sa tanan. With respect to the question, what difference have I already made that I can say is my legacy to the education system in the city, the answer is simple. Been there, done that. Since I was a councilor, I have allocated funds for the construction of the facilities in one of the state universities. And as committee chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, I shepherded the approval of the budget of the city, which gave priority to education. Been there, done that. If I may paraphrase the words of Horace Mann, education, beyond all other great divides of human origin, is a great equalizer of the conditions of men and women. The balance wheel to the social machinery. My father, Mayor Vitaliano Agan, was an exemplar of the success of education. Orphaned at the age of 13, he was taken care of by my lolos and lolas here in Zamboanga. With the opportunities presented during his time, he persevered and pursued his studies. Became a lawyer, became a counselor, became a mayor. And during his administration, he gave priority and importance to the education sector. I can assure the Zamboangueños that in another Agan administration, the same importance and priority will be given to education. Because I believe that given the proper opportunities, be they rich or poor, the youth can aspire for their dreams. Because education is the great equalizer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For the follow-up question,
As a follow-up question, Attorney Agan, what areas of concern will your administration focus if you will be given the opportunity to lead Zamboanga City? Primarily addressing the issue of the education sector.
Well, studies have shown that one of the great issues concerning our young is the mismatch of the skills to the requirements of employers. Proper concern training should be given to our graduates so that the skills required by the employers will be attained by our graduates. So it will not be hard for our graduates from Zamboanga to be employed. That is a major concern. Another concern is the low rating of our young students. They say training of the teachers is also important because when you have well-trained teachers, the young will also get the proper education. Thank you.
there you have it. Thank you very much, Attorney Meng Agan. All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Celso Lobregat. All right, Celso Lobregat, take question number 13. 1-3. Attorney Irma.
Good morning. How would you provide for more research and teaching resources for the higher education institutions in Zamboanga City?
A very, very pleasant good morning to each and every one of you. Buenos días con ustedes todo. Of course, if elected mayor, a very, very important thing is how to provide more research is to provide more budget. But we have to make sure that we have relevant researches with doable solutions. When I was mayor, I took the chance and opportunity to ask the different SUKs to help the city government. One of them was in the restoration of our coral reefs in Santa Cruz Island. We asked the Zamboanga State College of Marine Science and Technology to partner with us because Santa Cruz Island is a protected island. We also asked WMSU to help us plan out Paseo del Mar. So research definitely is very, very important, but it has to be relevant. So aside from providing budgets, we should also provide facilities that will improve the research capabilities of the SUKs. So thank you.
Thank you very much. For the follow-up question,
Yes, thank you for that. During your term in Congress, you have been a representative of District 1 previously. What legislative measures have you passed that have aided the higher education institution in terms of research and development?
I was very, very fortunate to sit in the Board of Regents and the Board of Trustees of the different SUKs of Zamboanga City. And I was very attentive and I was very concerned especially when it came to research. In fact, when we authored the bill creating the Zamboanga Peninsula State Polytechnic College, one of the deficiencies that delayed the process was the lack of research. And so that was what the school concentrated on, and they are now a university.
All right, thank you very much. Salso Lobregat. Everyone, at this time, let's have the round two of our question. Let's welcome once again, Cesar Jimenez Jr. And he picked question number 17.
It is election time and everybody is trying their best to win the vote of the electoral body, especially the youth. What is the one promise you can utter to assure the needs of lifelong learners that will be addressed once you are elected to the position?
Yes, one promise I can give is reintegration. Reintegration, meaning for our lifelong learners who were enrolled previously to the K-12 program, meaning antes pa sila gradua na high school, hindi pa epektibo el K-12 program. So how are we going to reintegrate them? I'm happy with the present system being introduced by the Department of Education, wherein they offer the alternative learning system to our students, meaning our out-of-school youths, those who graduated in high school before the effectivity of the law on K-12 program, pwede sila bira hinay-hinay para continual nila studio. So one thing we can do is really to provide for an office, for a school, onde tseni kita dali kanila infrastruktura, onde diaton mga out-of-school youth, onde diaton mga estudyante, kaya nisisita bira na eskwela, pwede kanila lang mga maestro, i-insinya hinay-hinay kanila. Well, the K-12 program is in effect already, but we have yet really to get an aggressive campaign from the national government or from the Department of Education. How are we going to reintegrate akal mga lifelong learners di aton para pwede kanila bira na eskwela? This is one issue that I feel that the higher learning institutions have to address in cooperation with the local government unit, onde pwede kita dali kanila el avenue para pwede sila explika kung ang mga estudyante di aton kila sila pwede man-enroll na kolehiyo, sino ay sila gradua na K-12 program. This is a basic concern, basic issue that until now, unfortunately, siya pwede man address, pero very few of our lifelong learners are aware of this. So I feel that by reintegrating them into the new curriculum, by reintegrating them into the new system, I feel that actually sila equal opportunity with the present students di aton, kaya pwede sila graduan na kolehiyo. Di aton challenges, kita mira kita ko ng mga estudyante di aton, kila sila pwede continue di la studio. Even before the effectivity of the K-12 program, yan mira kita, manada noy gradua high school, manada noy pwede gradua even at the elementary. How was kila de alto el noy pwede gradua even when they enrolled in grade 1? Very few graduated in grade 6. So these are the things that we have to address para pwede kita asibira kung nandiyaton mga lifelong learners into the new system, into the new curriculum that is being offered by the K-12 program.
Muchas gracias. For the follow-up question,
I understand that one of your priorities is the out-of-school youth and reintegrating them into the new system, which includes the K-12 program and the alternative learning system. During my stint as the DepEd legal officer, what I've observed is that most of the out-of-school youth and those who are enrolled in alternative learning system are those who are not capable of really who are not financially capable. Economically, they are suffering. So if you will integrate them and maybe introduce them to the higher education, how can you assure the youth that they can cope up with the digitalization of higher education and distant learning?
Well, I feel that the best way to really help our students nowadays, especially because of the pandemic, is through our scholarship program. We have to expand the scholarship program, meaning it should not be limited to based on your grades, meaning hindi kailangan mataas ang grado mo para maging scholar ka ng bayan. I feel that we have to give equal opportunity to all Zamboangueño students para pwede sila man-enroll na kolehiyo. Meaning, once they get enrolled, kosa kita kanila nisisita pa suporta. Maski na mga state universities daton, on the tabla nga kita liberal tuition, but still, our students are struggling. Como aura, nisisita sila online for their classes. Ninway sila para man-provide el mga internet kinisisita sila. So manada kita ko sa DBAC, infrastructure is not only limited kunel mga building, pero infrastructure also relates kunel internet capability diaton kinisisita kat kita man-improve.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Muchas gracias, Cesar Jimenez Jr. And now, Sir Cesar Climaco, for your second round of question. And he picked question number 6.
Good morning, Mr. Climaco. Your question is, what are your priorities in the education sector for Region 9 or Zamboanga Peninsula?
There are very big problems with education in Zamboanga City. Number one, I go around, I ask the little kids, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3. Many of them do not know. And they may be 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. So, that is education in the very beginning of life. I have a grandson who is 4 years old, and he can calculate 1 times 10 is 10, and 10 times 10 is 100, up to 1 billion. So I don't know what my daughter taught him, but I'm aghast or sad that we do not teach our young children better mathematics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. So, priorities, address those problems. 4 or 5 years ago, I met a student from WMSU. He was from an island in Tawi-Tawi, and he had a shirt saying, "Don't English me, I panic." And he could not answer me in English. But he graduated political science from WMSU, I was told. So what are the priorities in education? The problem is education. What is education? People need to learn. People need to learn. And most of the learning is inborn. Maybe parents should be teaching their children how to read at 3 years old or 4 years old, but they cannot. They may have no money to buy books, no media to teach them, and that's sad. So what are priorities in education? Higher education, study photo learning, super learning, how to read faster. Photo learning, it's in the internet. How to do it? It's hard, but if you can read a book in 2 hours and retain 80%, that's good. So what are priorities in education? Advanced education, super learning, photo reading, and many others. Unschooling. The newest one is unschooling. Thank you very much.
For the follow-up question,
Hello. As a follow-up question, what specific and concrete steps or programs your administration intend to implement for Zamboanga City? Can you provide us with specific concrete plans or programs you wish your administration to implement here in Zamboanga City as a city mayor?
Well, I think the education now around the world is revolving not around brick and mortar school buildings, but through the information in Google. When I want to know something, I Google it. And we should start improving our education through electronic means. And most of the young people are doing TikTok, Facebook, but I don't think they're learning too much. I hear them talking about marites, which is a useless function. They keep on gossiping. So we should try to make our students or people learn important things, another language, reading, writing, and arithmetic, mathematics, science.
all right, time is up. Muchas gracias, Cesar Clibaco. A warm round of applause, please. And now, let's have Attorney Romel Agan for the second question. And he picked question number 10.
The higher education institutions are expected to continue flexible learning in the years to come. How do you propose to address the issue of unscheduled power interruptions, which greatly hamper the delivery of online teaching and learning?
The question of power interruptions can be solved by pushing the private sector managing our electric utility to fast-track the rehabilitation of its system. We have also other investors coming in who will be placing mega batteries similar to a UPS to address the issue of voltage fluctuation. You can see one in Pitogo where you see container vans. Batteries the size of container vans already in place, and we will soon have another one in Sangali. This will address the issue of power interruptions. Leadership has to work together with the private sector to be able to address these concerns, because this requires investment from the private sector. Just a push from the leadership, asking their cooperation in fast-tracking the development, rehabilitation of our old lines in the electric utility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the follow-up question,
What is your opinion on renewable energy as a source of power in the city?
I support the installation of renewable energy source in the city. We have some private companies interested in coming into Zamboanga to invest. What is important for these investors is a leadership that they can trust. If there is leadership that can be trusted, businessmen, the private investors will be willing to stake their capital. Attorney Meng Agan is offering a leadership that these investors can trust. Renewable energy is important because fossil fuel is dirty. We have interested investors coming in, and I will welcome them in Zamboanga.
All right, muchísimas gracias, Attorney Robel Agan.
Thank you.
And now it's your turn, Celso Lobregat, to answer the second question. And he picked question number 16.
Good morning, Congressman Lobregat. The question is, how do you propose to assist higher education institutions in ensuring that minimum public health standards, such as physical distancing, are strictly observed in classrooms?
Again, a very pleasant good morning. If elected mayor, I know that there is an existing memorandum between DOH and CHED and the higher institutions. We will assist in whatever manner to make sure that that memorandum is complied with. We will provide with the system with additional manpower to make sure that the health protocols are followed. We will also, as a city mayor, I will also make sure that there is a budget to assist the higher education in providing face masks, alcohol, the washing stations, and whatever is needed to make sure that the minimal health standards in higher education are complied with. I am very, very happy that I still have 1 minute and 55 seconds. I wish I could have brought with me our platform of government, but we are not allowed to bring notes. But 4 platforms of and action plans are there. One for the youth, to have a comprehensive youth development program, to include career development and participatory governance. In fact, I think I am the only one that has chosen a young vice mayor, and I walk my talk. Our candidates for councilors are also very young. We have the youngest councilor, which is Kari Piok. We have Sean Alabar. We have Vino Gingona. And we have BG Gingona. So I walk my talk with the youth. I still have 56 seconds. The second issue there is education. Our platform for education is that we will strengthen the educational system to include formal, non-formal, vocational, and technical studies. We will uplift and train the educators. We will also partner with CHED and the higher institutions to provide access and assistance to quality education. I still have 19 seconds. Again, part of our program is the basic services. We need to take the lead in establishing a fast and reliable internet and Wi-Fi in the city.
Muchas gracias, Celso Lobregat. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our forum on the mayoral position. We have a follow-up question. Sorry for that.
As a follow-up question, what measures will you put in place as the city mayor of Zamboanga to ensure that your initiatives and programs will be sustainable in the long run?
Medyo garbled.
Can you please repeat, sir, the question?
Yeah, and then also, it's better if you take off your mask.
Okay. If I may repeat the follow-up question, what measures will your administration put in place to ensure that your initiatives and programs will be sustainable in the long run?
Actually, my advocacy is really to empower the youth through assistance and access to quality education. I have been the mayor, and as mayor, I wish I was asked the question, what legacy I can leave behind. Because as mayor, we operationalized many high schools. We spearheaded the establishment of extension colleges of WMSU in Coruan and Polytechnic in Bitali and Ayala. As a congressman, we legislated 10 new high schools. We also legislated, I was a co-author of the 10931, free education, free tuition and visit.
All right, muchísimas gracias, Celso Lobregat. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our forum on the mayoral position. Everyone, let us give a resounding warm round of applause to our gentlemen. Let's have now a photo opportunity first. Once again, we have Cesar Jimenez Jr. of the Nationalist People's Coalition. We have Cesar Climaco, our independent candidate. We have Attorney Romel Agan of United Nationalist Alliance. And we have Celso Lobregat of Laban ng Demokratikong Pilipino. This time, we shall have a photo opportunity with our high officials. Thank you very much. Once again, a warm round of applause to our mayoral candidates. You may now proceed to your designated seats. Our ushers will assist you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to break the momentum of today's event, and before we proceed to the next sequence of our forum, let us all welcome the WMSU Grand Chorale for a special number.
Don't they know it's the end of the world? 'Cause you don't love me anymore. Why do the birds go on singing? Why do the stars glow above? Don't they know it's the end of the world? It's ended when I lost your love. You are sunlight and I'm moon, joined by the gods of fortune. Midnight and high noon, sharing the sky. We have been blessed, you and
You are here like a mystery. I'm from a world that's so different from all that you are. How in the light of one night did we come so far?
outside day starts to dawn.
The moon still floats on high.
The birds
The
awake,
stars shine too.
my head still
I
shakes,
reach for you,
and we meet in the sky. On my own, pretending he's beside me. All alone, I walk with him till morning. Without him, I feel his arms around me. And when I lose my way, I close my eyes, and he has found me. I love him, but every day I'm learning. All my life, I've only been pretending. Without me, his world will go on turning. A world that's full of happiness that I have never known. Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection someone I don't know? Must I pretend that I'm someone else for a time? When will my reflection show who I am inside?
like a shooting star. I can go the distance. I will search the world. I will face it harms. I don't care how far. I can go the distance till I find my heroes welcome waiting in your Say once again with me, how strange the world. My power over you grows stronger yet. And though I dream again to glance behind, the phantom of the opera is there inside my mind. Sing for me! Sing for me! Sing! Sing!
Every night alone in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. Think of what the world could be, a vision of what I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna Every night alone in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. Think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Never we
All right, thank you very much. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let us give them a warm round of applause. WMSU Grand Chorale for their superb performance. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall proceed to the part 2 of our forum. And this is for the Vice Mayoral candidates. Let us welcome now on stage our 4 candidates for the Vice Mayoral position. All right, we have Albert Atilano Sr., Benjamin Gingona IV, Josephine Pareja, and Attorney Melchor Reyes Sadain. You may now proceed, po. And you will actually pick your number. Yes, po. This time they will pick their number for the sequence of our forum. The number 1 will occupy the first seat, number 2, 3, and so on. All right, thank you very much. You may now have your seats. For our number one, we have Benjamin Gingona IV of Laban ng Demokratikong Pilipino. For our number two, we have Attorney Melchor Ray Sadain of Lakas Christian Muslim Democrats. For number three, we have Josephine Pinpin Pareja of Partido Prosperidad y Amor para na Zamboanga. And number four, we have Albert Atilano Singer of United Nationalist Alliance. All right, reminders to our candidates. You will answer 2 questions, that's 2 rounds, and be given a maximum of 3 minutes to respond to each question. The microphone will automatically be muted after the given time. For the follow-up question, you are given 1 minute to respond to the question, given of course to by our moderator. All right, and the timer will start after our moderators will ask each question. And so, let's start the ball rolling. Let us welcome our moderators. We have Attorney Carl Andrew Rubio and Assistant Professor Vincale Shason. Let's have number one, Sir Benjamin Gingona IV. You may now stand and pick your question. And he picked question number 7.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Gingona. So here's your question. How can the local government in partnership with the Commission on Higher Education Region 9 help in assisting the HEIs to achieve their long-term goals in terms of the modernization of institutions?
Good morning and thank you for the question. I believe that the local government, in partnership with the CHED Region 9, can really help the higher education institutions in achieving their long-term goals in terms of modernization in institutions is first things first. We have to understand the needs of the different schools or institutions. We sit down, we get the numbers, and we have to identify what type of requirements they need. But on the onset, I think we really have to provide budgetary support for the equipments, for the facilities, and I think in this digital age, very important is the internet connection, the reliability of it, and the speed of the internet. So together with the local government and DICT, we have to sit down and see how else we can strengthen the internet connection in the different HEIs. But at the end of the day, it is for the local government unit to sit down with the different stakeholders and institutions and understand the specific needs of the different schools. But I understand that the equipments, technology, and gadgets are very important. So at the end of the day, it is a priority of the local government to push for modernization in the different HEIs. So I think the budget can really help in achieving this modernization. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question.
Hello, okay. Thank you very much because I believe you really have concrete plans. However, we would like to know, I believe the audience would also like to know, have you, in prior research with these higher institutions, have you already pinpointed certain issues that you believe you have to address in terms of the modernizations of the different institutions?
Yeah, well,
specific.
Yeah. Modernization, we talk about technology. And today's time, technology talks about the internet. So I think one of the problems of not just the HEIs, but the youth, is really having problem with internet connectivity. So there is a program by DICT wherein they can put up, construct towers. The city government should partner with them and really provide the budgetary support. And with the HEIs, we can also subsidize the different gadgets, equipments that they need. So at the end of the day, in the Sangguniang Panglungsod, as we have the power of the purse, we really have to sit down with the different HEIs and really talk to them and ask the specific requirements, and we will give the necessary budgetary support.
All right, thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias, BG Gingona. And now let's have our number 2 candidate here. We have Attorney Melchor Ray Sadain. And he picked question number 4.
And this is the question. We know that education is one of the many areas that is suffering, as it has already been suffering.
Sir, our moderator will read the question.
Pardon? Okay, thank you.
Buenos dias, Attorney Mel.
Buenos dias, Pañero.
Your question, sir. We know that education is one of the many areas that is suffering as it is already been suffering. What have you contributed to making a difference in the education system in the city?
So you are referring to my contribution that has already been contributed to the educational system in the city of Zamboanga. When I was a city councilor, I'm always one of those who actively participated and support the passage of an ordinance that would create another institutions in our city, specifically at the level of the elementary and the high school students for the construction of National High School in the city of Zamboanga. The question calls for a general education in the city of Zamboanga, education system. Now, in particular, aside from the ordinance that we have passed in the City Council and we have co-authored and authored, in which up to now, a lot of students in our elementary and high school are benefiting. We have also, in my case, I have also, no less than in the Western Mindanao State University, contributed certain funds for the construction of student, sort of a kiosk, which until now is still erecting at the College of Nursing, which the students, during their free time, they can use where they can study and improve themselves in the course of their journey in the university. So along this line, ladies and gentlemen, I could say that the actions that Attorney Melchor had done during his stint as city councilor until now, a lot of our students are still benefiting. So this is some sort of a legacy or a remembrance, part of the students from Attorney Melchor as city councilor before. So that's it. How will you contribute or what have you contributed in terms of legislations, in terms of the actual construction of school buildings, as well as in the construction of study kiosks for our students in the university? Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the follow-up question,
Gracias, Attorney Mel. If you are elected as a vice mayor and in that capacity, you have already cited what you have so far contributed. What specific programs or projects do you intend to add to those which you have already done, specifically that would benefit higher educational institutions?
Yes. As a legislator, as a vice mayor, I intend to encourage our city councilors to pass an ordinance that will benefit our high school, our college students, specifically enrolled in state universities and colleges. What are these? An ordinance that will complement the congressional scholarship granted to our college students. In other words, we will come out with the local version, scholarship for our college deserving students. There are a lot of students who could not afford to go to college because of lack of financial assistance. But the local government, under the leadership of John Dalipe and yours truly as Vice Mayor, that is one of our plataforma to see to it that all students in college should be given assistance by way of granting of scholarship, those who are deserving. Thank you.
muchísimas gracias, Attorney Melchor Ray Sadain. And now for our candidate number 3, we have Josephine Pareja. And she picked question number 18.
Okay, good morning, Ma'am Josephine Pareja. The youth would like to know, what programs will you initiate to address the alarming number of out-of-school youth in the country, and basically in Zamboanga City in particular? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we will pass an ordinance, sir, that will give financial assistance to all the out-of-school youth for them to go back to school. Free education is one of the platforms of the Team Climaco, in which we all usually say during our rallies that we will give always libreng edukasyon para sa ating mag-aaral. Kasama na po ang ating mga out-of-school youth. We will make sure that we will bring them back to school. At bringing them back to school, kasama na po dyan ang pagbibigay ng allowance para sa ating pagkain, allowance para sa ating transportasyon, at lahat po ng pangangailangan ng out-of-school youth, ibibigay po natin para lang maibalik natin sila sa ating mga paaralan.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question.
Okay, thank you very much. In relation to a recently signed Republic Act of Rodrigo Duterte, which is the inclusive education, how would you incorporate enforcing the implementation if this would really become, a law, the inclusive education specifically in Zamboanga City?
Yes, sir, we would encourage our youth to go back to school, and just in addition, that the local government can always provide for additional needs of the students. Hindi lang po yung dun sa libreng tuition, libreng miscellaneous, but other than that, we could always add more support for our student, just like on the free transportation, allowance for transportation, allowance for food, and other expenses that they will incur in the course ng kanilang pag-aaral.
All right, thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias, Josephine Pareja. And now our candidate number 4, Albert Atilano Sr. And he picked question number 3.
Buenos dias, Konsehal Bong.
Buenos dias.
Your question is, how will your administration approach and deal with learning institutions in Zamboanga City that are actively generating research studies that can greatly contribute to community capacity building, improvement of people's lives, as well as those research studies whose results require local government policy formulation or amendments?
Yeah, good morning. First, I have to push for the creation of a council, education council, similar to that of School Board of DepEd, so that we can synchronize or put in together all their concern. Now, through research, Zamboanga City, when I was councilor, has been hiring researcher from outside, where in fact we have our own good researcher here in Zamboanga City, and they know exactly what are our concerns because they are from the local, comparing to those we are going to hire. So that is the first step that I'm going to make, is to form a council. Shall we say it's a council of higher education, learning of Zamboanga City, for their concern to address and give incentives to those who give research that are relevant to the concern of Zamboanga City. Incentives in form of monitoring, just like what I did for our athlete who are performing very well now.
Thank you very much. And for the follow-up question,
That is a very good and laudable idea, Councilor Bong. In your capacity as a Vice Mayor, how do you propose to raise the resources necessary to support such an education council?
Yeah, we have done that in sport. We can do it in education. Actually, I am the proponent, principal author of the creation of Colegio de la Ciudad de Zamboanga because I saw the needs, especially those in the Parplang Barrio or barangays, which they cannot come and afford to study here in the city. That's why we put the Colegio de la Ciudad in Zamboanga, in Ayala, and in Vitali. Because we saw, or I saw the needs. Now, the best way in allocating funds, we try to save from, shall we say, Kupit. So we know a lot of it, but we can get more and allocate more funds for education because we have the school board but limited to second.
Muchas gracias. We have Albert Atilano Sr. There you have it. And now let's have the round two of the question. Let's have BG Gingona. And he picked question number 8.
Buenos dias, Consejal BG. Your question is, with the implementation of the Free Quality Tertiary Education Law, or RA 10931, what are your supplemental higher educational reforms or agenda for the city of Zamboanga?
Thank you for that question. Aside from the free and quality tertiary education law, a supplemental educational reform agenda for the city of Zamboanga is, if you can recall, during my time as councilor, we pushed for the local youth development council of Zamboanga, including the government industry academe council of Zamboanga. What are the objectives of these two councils is that we have to prepare our students, our graduates, for job readiness or tatawag natin na employability. We have to ensure that they have the correct tools when they apply for jobs in Zamboanga City. So how can we push for reforms? Again, in our advocacy of a good governance, we have to have the participation of the people. It is very, very important that we sit down with the different stakeholders, the HEIs, the different industries, so that we can understand on the educational aspect pa lang, tsenya kita specific programs to address the concerns of our students, even outside, after they graduate from the different educational institutions. We have to prepare them for job readiness and employability. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want for our youth, to have a decent and more livable life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for the follow-up question,
you mentioned, sir, that the measures that you have taken as a councilor aims to make sure of job readiness. How do you propose to solve our problem on jobs matching, graduates not being able to work after they graduate from our higher education institutions?
Thank you so much for that question, Attorney Carl. In fact, if you can recall, we are the main proponent and the main author of the Government Industry Academe Council, which is being supported by the Philippine Business for Education and the Philippine Social Progress. No? We have to really gather the different stakeholders, the industries, and our academics, because this is a problem of supply and demand. We have to refocus, reprioritize the kind of students, the graduates that we are producing versus the demands of the different industries, so that when they finish school, they are ready and there is a job available for them in the city of Zamboanga, and they no longer have to migrate to different localities, and we can solve our own economic problems and our social problems in Zamboanga City. Thank you.
all right, thank you very much, BG Gingona. And now we have candidate number 2. We have Attorney Mel Sadain. And he picked question number 11.
Okay, good morning, Attorney Mel Sadain. So here's your question, sir. What do you think are the different frontier technologies that can disrupt the learning of students?
You know, there is little by little a shift from the kind of methodology in classroom teaching or instruction. From the usual blackboard and chalk method, or from the usual cartolina or Manila paper, little by little, we are transporting to digital education in terms of learning process, in terms of learning methodology. But however, let me warn, because not all areas in the entire Philippines, including perhaps Zamboanga City, are not are ready for such kind of digital teachings. Like for example, in a classroom methodology, if you shift directly or abruptly from the usual teaching method of classroom, the chalk and the board, and the books, and replace it by gadgets, by televisions, or by computer, but we have to see to it that not all the students are capable immediately in adjusting to that process. Not only the students, but even our teachers, they are not immediately ready. So what I'm trying to say, when we talk of disruption, check kita mga disruptions in terms of adaptability, no? In terms of learning process, in terms of availability of the gadgets, in terms of power interruptions. So these are some of the disruptions that I perceive in the frontier technologies in the event that this will be fully implemented in our learning institutions, even in higher educational institutions. So we have to adjust. If ever we will adjust, we have to adjust little by little. So much so that we will not, hindi natin mabibigla yung estudyante, hindi natin mabibigla yung mga teachers. So along this line, nandyan ang distraction. But however, let me also emphasize that there are also, especially for areas which are ready and capable, there are also advantages because you can have fast research, fast availability of facts and data needed by the students. But as I said, in terms of disruption, nandyan po. Kasi yung frontier technologies as a means of educating or a process of methodology in teaching inside the classroom, hindi mo po yan madadala sa rural areas. Hindi mo yan madadala sa laylayan. Because not all our areas in the entire Philippines, even Zamboanga City, is ready for that. So if I may conclude, this is more of an abrupt disruption if we implement that immediately. But little by little, improve first the support system.
Thank you very much for our follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Attorney Mel. So if ever elected as Vice Mayor in your capacity, how would you encourage the local city council to address maybe in policies or in legislation to address this to address yung gap between using of technology and learning of students?
This cannot be done by the city council alone. This should be done in coordination, in collaboration with private entities and other government agencies. Like for example, in Zamboanga City, as a vice mayor, we could always sit together and invite the participation of these service providers. Like for example, the SAMCELCO, the Department of Information, DICT, no? Because they are the ones who will be implementing. The most that we can do is to support their actions by way of either an ordinance or resolutions, or by way of even supporting in terms of financial, however or whatever amount the city government in the course of assisting our HEIs and our education system in the city of Zamboanga. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Mel Sadain. And now, candidate number 3, we have Josephine Pareja. And she picked question number 15.
Buenos dias, Konsehal Pinpin. Your question, ma'am. If elected, what 3 steps will you do to improve the quality of public and private education in the city?
First, sir, we need to give support to our public and private schools in the city of Zamboanga by providing funds for the construction of the different buildings, improvement of the buildings. Earlier, umikot po kami dito sa WMSU at na-check namin na mas marami pa rin kailangan pala ang ating mga eskwelahan. Improve ang mga buildings nila. So next, we should also provide for our students na dapat ang ating mga mag-aaral ay magkaroon po ng mga libreng or allowances na dapat na kailangan para ibigay sa kanila para there would always be no reason. Wala po silang rason para tumigil sa kanilang pag-aaral. And the third, dapat po yung continuing education ng ating mga teachers. Dapat po meron tayong professional development, pondohan po ang continuing education nila, bigyan po ng mga scholarship ang ating mga teachers. So lahat po yan, dapat buo ang suporta ng ating local government para mas ma-improve ang quality at education dito sa ating syudad ng Zamboanga.
Thank you very much. For the follow-up question,
Those are very laudable, but also very expensive plans. If you become vice mayor, and in that capacity, how do you propose to raise additional funding for all of these very laudable plans, or what current program of the administration are you going to tweak or repurpose so that you can generate the funds needed for these activities, because we have a very limited budget?
Yes, we have reversions of project, sir. We have reversions of project that we should revert other projects that we see na mas kailangan natin para sa edukasyon. So, ilipat natin po yung focus sa ating edukasyon. But in the collection of taxes, the government should be efficient in the collection of taxes. The real property tax, masyado na natin napapabayaan, nakarely masyado tayo sa IRA. Nagiging IRA-dependent ang ating gobyerno, and we should focus on the collection of taxes natin. So the real property tax ay sa other cities, ito po ang pinagkukunan nila ng mga pondo para dito po mabigyan solusyon o mapondohan po ang problema natin, lalong-lalo na sa edukasyon. And kung naupo po tayo bilang Vice Mayor, isa po sa tututukan natin, tutulungan natin ang executive natin to look for a ways on how to efficiently collect taxes para magkaroon po ng pondo ang ating gobyerno para sa mga proyektong ito.
okay, maraming salamat po, Josephine Pareja. And now, let's have our candidate number 4. We have Bong Atilano. And he picked question number 14.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Atilano, sir. There are likely unintended consequences of online classes. What do you think are the potential or perceived impacts to the students on the delivery of learning thereof?
Well, again, good morning, our mga president ng tatlong eskwela, dalawang universities ang college. Good morning po. Well, of course, mawawala sa aire, no? Kasi we experience, kahit kami, online meetings namin, pag masama ang panahon, nawawala tayo sa aire. Isa yon, hindi mo nadidinig. So, ang nangyari, hindi tugma yung sinasabi mo sa pinipid ng sentro. So, yun, isa lang yun sa mga consequences kung ganito ang nangyayari sa online classes natin. Because we do experience in our meetings through virtual during our session. But I would like to elaborate more on what I was trying to, since I have enough time. How to help the tertiary education is put an organization like the school board or a council. Why? In the school board, lahat ng problema nila, the whole schools, nilalagay doon, tapos isa-isa ina-address. Unlike sa college, they have their own regent, they have their own charter, at they have their own policy maker. So wala pa tayong consolidated board or council not to address what is exactly what they need. Kaya kanya-kanya silang request sa amin. In fact, ang WMSU this year, ma'am, no, you got 110 million from the city of Zamboanga, no, to build their governance building, this computer center for student, no, yung CLA building nila, including the stalls para maganda yung ambience sa parang Class A restaurant, magiging Class A restaurant ang mga food stall nila dito sa especially facing the grandstand. So kanya-kanya. Previous in other school also they get support from what is this? From the executive, no? The chief executive. So kung meron yan, council or school board for tertiary, lahat sila mapagbigyan pare-pareho. And ma-address natin exactly kung anong kailangan nila to improve the quality of teaching and services in the tertiary level.
Thank you very much. We have our follow-up question.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that response. Now, we would like to know, which do you think is more a pressing issue to address, given that you want to have a school board, you know, you would want to propose for that. Which do you think is more pressing issue to address if you have to pick one? The quality of graduates or the availability of jobs of our graduates? If you only have to pick one.
Kailangan natin ng research because merong graduate natin hindi naka-employ kaagad. Why? Probably kulang tayo ng study, baka sobra yung production natin on a certain areas of our specialization, tapos yung market hindi available. So kung meron tayong research, then pwede nating sabihin na kung anong i-offer natin para pag-graduate niya may market. No? I remember in 90s, yung sobrang daming nurses na pag-graduate natin, tapos walang market. So after few years pa, no? So ganito din dapat. If we have those research na to specify kung anong kailangan ng community that is can be employed immediately, then research is important.
All right, muchísimas gracias, Bong Atilano. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, and that completes our forum on the vice mayoral position. Everyone, let us give them a resounding warm round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, may we request our high officials to please proceed here on stage for the photo opportunity. Once again, palakpakan po natin Benjamin Gingona IV of Laban ng Demokratikong Pilipino. Attorney Melchor Ray Sadain, Lakas Christian Muslim Democrats. Josephine Pinpin Pareha, Partido Prosperidad y Amor para na Zamboanga, and of course, Sir Albert Atilano Sr. of United Nationalist Alliance. Once again, palakpakan po natin ang ating Vice Mayoral candidates. Thank you very much. To our candidates, you may now proceed in our holding area. Students, are you still there? Andyan pa ba tayo? Isang malakas na palakpakan nga. Ayan. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, we shall proceed to the part 3 of our forum, and this is for our congressional candidates. Let us welcome on stage our candidates for Districts 1 and 2 congressional position. Let's have Maria Isabel Garcia Climaco. We have Kaimer Adantaing Olaso. We have Wendell Facultad Soto. We have Juan Climaco Elago II, and of course we have Fictal Majudin. You may now come on stage requesting our congressional candidates. All right, palakpakan po natin ang ating congressional candidates, and they will now pick their numbers so that we will be able to determine their seating arrangement. Okay, so this time they will now pick their numbers. All right, so the first one will occupy the first seat and so on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our candidate number 1 is Kaimer Adan Olaso. Our candidate number 2 is Wendell Soto. Candidate number 3, Attorney Kim Elago. Candidate number 4, Fictal Majudin. And candidate number 5, Mayor Beng Climaco. At this time, reminders to our candidates. You will answer 2 questions, 2 rounds, and be given a maximum of 3 minutes to respond to each question. The microphone will automatically be muted after the given time. For the follow-up question given by our moderator, you're only given 1 minute to respond. And of course, the timer will start after our moderators will ask each question. Is that clear po? Okay, thank you very much. So let's begin. We have already our panelists there. Let's have our number 1 candidate, Kaimer Adan Olaso. You may now draw your question. And he picked question number 8.
Should I?
Good morning, Mr. Olaso.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yes, I believe the youth would like to know what are your ready-in-can laws that would benefit higher education that you intend to pass or propose once elected to the office?
Well, my reading can hand laws is an average one bill. This bill, I would like to pass this in Congress in order to help the average student in the Philippines. Because I myself, I'm considered as other average student. Quando te estudia pa eskwela, we average student, we don't get kita the same privileges as what those students, akil mga bright, kita pwede tene. Por eso tablayo siligay na Kongreso, pasayo el average one bill para pwede kita dali asistensya con el average students. It's simply because el average students, manada kayo takeda drop out. They were left behind. So aside from giving fundings to them, kaya kami kita dali modern equipment, modern technologies in order for this average student to excel in life. Just like your honor here, Councilor Kimer Olaso. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for that intention, sir. We would just like to know, I'm from the science and technology field. So basically, we believe that appropriate perspective is needed in proposing relevant and effective national legislation. This is my question, sir. Do you believe that science and technology is important for nation building?
Yes, science and technology is really important. You know, how science improve and develop our world. So, if I'll be in Congress, pwede tamin kita dali pondo con el daton DOST together with the students to study furthermore. Kosa kita pwede solba na daton lugar. For example, el daton na problema na krisis aral elektrisidad, na kita elektrisidad. We will fund this and let DOST continually studying. Pakitsura kita pwede sa source of energy para pwede ban supply na kada equal barangay daton, most especially those remote areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaimer Adan Olaso. You may now take your seat, sir. Let's have candidate number 2, Wendell Soto. And he picked question number 16.
Good morning, Attorney Soto. Your question is, higher education institutions and their students were tagged by the National Task Force to end local communist armed conflict as recruitment havens for the new People's Army. The question is, what can you say about the red tagging that the government is doing insofar as accusing the youth sectors as front of the Communist Party?
Before I will answer that, sir, let me first greet the organizers of this event. And I would like to commend also the respective presidents of our state universities, colleges here in Zamboanga City. And of course, I would like to say good morning to the panel of moderators. Thank you. Well, what can I say about the red tagging that the government is doing in accusing the youth sector as a front of the Communist Party? Well, it is a known fact that in state universities and colleges, we should accept the fact that indeed there are groups such as League of Filipino Students who are actually or had actually penetrated our state universities and colleges. And I'm saying this because I was once a student in a university in Dumaguete City, in Siliman University. And during my formative years, or in my freshman as a college student, I was actually recruited by the League of Filipino Students, and for which I attended their orientation, their indoctrination. Fortunately, I was able to get out of it at the sooner time because I was able to realize that what they have been indoctrinating the students who joined this particular organization was actually trying to recruit for the new People's Army. And that is a fact, and that is a reality that is happening in our state universities and colleges. And I am stating this as my own experience. The red tagging of the armed forces of the Philippines, of state universities as a haven, I must say that is correct. However, we should also accept the fact, or we should balance, that state universities and colleges has what we call the freedom or academic freedom. Under the Constitution, academic freedom is not actually defined as what is academic freedom. But in my own point of view, academic freedom is the right of the institution of higher learning to choose what they will teach.
Thank you very much, sir, for our follow-up question.
Sir, as a follow-up question, what specific legislative agenda will you undertake should you be given the opportunity to represent the people of Zamboanga City in addressing this problem affecting the youth sector by the Communist Party?
Yes, I think we have the NSTP law, or the National Service Training Program, in our curriculum. And that should be emphasized well. No? Because the way I see it today, the NSTP and the allied subject under this program is being taken for granted. And we should strengthen the NSTP. If given the chance to serve in Congress, I will see to it. I will study the NSTP law and see to it what should be corrected or amended in that particular act. Because I believe this is one way of addressing the recruitment of our students by the new People's Army.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We have Wendell Soto. And now let's have our candidate number 3, Attorney Kim Elago. And he picked question number 5.
Good morning, Attorney. How would you address the inclusivity of poor or disadvantaged students in the loop of digitalization of learning? Number 5.
You may proceed now, ma'am.
Should I repeat?
Yes, po.
Yes,
Okay.
because I have a different question in my hand. Okay. Yeah.
Number 5, how would you address the inclusivity of poor or disadvantaged students in the loop of digitalization of learning?
Yes, thank you very much. I am honored to stand before you. Digitalization is considered as the fifth infrastructure. It's an infrastructure as important as a road, airport, water, and electricity. We need to come up with a program that will put rural areas as a priority program. Second, personally, iyo tatsintiyo, the students should be given free tablets each at the elementary pa lang. Just like in other countries, although it might be very expensive at the start, but the impact will be better off. Because if you have a tablet, You don't need to buy books. You don't need to buy expensive books. The tablet will be sufficient. All the books can be placed in the tablet. And when you say digitalization, it comes in a different way, no? It doesn't automatically mean Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi infrastructure is very expensive. But we can digitalize our education by putting it in a tablet and using USB. In short, we have to find many, many ways to do it. But very important is that the government, both national and the local, should focus on making sure that rural areas will receive the same attention as those students in the cities or urban areas. That would be my answer.
Thank you very much. Our follow-up question, ma'am.
Thank you for that, Attorney Kim. Okay, members of the House of Representatives has no executive mandate or power. So, to be able to implement your priority projects, you would need funds. Would you support the distribution of discretionary funds in Congress?
The distribution,
Discretionary funds in Congress.
you mean Congress will receive discretionary funds?
Yeah, yes. Do you, would you
As a
support
rule,
that?
as a rule, I would not be so. I would not like it to give Congress so much discretionary funds, because the work of Congress is to make laws. If you put money, a large amount of discretionary funds for congressmen, they will not anymore work for making laws. They will concentrate in executing, implementing their programs, which we will lose a lot. Because there are so much laws that needs to be amended, there are so much laws that needs to be enacted na hasta ara nakapending lang. Like laws on land reform, laws on even, in fact, silang tricycle. We need our congressman to concentrate in making laws. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Juan Climaco Elago II. Let's now have our candidate number 4, Victal Majudin. And he picked question number 19.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Your question is, what programs will you initiate to address the alarming number of out-of-school youth in the country?
Yes, before I will answer that question, I'd like to greet my Muslim brother and my Christian brother. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. As what Attorney Lagos said, that the Congress is only to legislate a law. But if you're going to ask me this kind of question, the first and foremost, I would like to create an institution that will serve and address the out-of-school youth in the country. Because as we have known that youth is one of the future of our nation. So we need to support this out-of-school youth, especially because the reason why they are not, they did not attend to the school because of poverty, because they cannot afford to pay tuition. That's why we have to come up with a institution that will cater the youth, because without education, I think we will never be a progressive country. Because once everybody is already educated, they know how to work in the government. I think there's no reason for us to be a third world country. That's why the basic needs, education is the basic needs of our youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And for the follow-up question,
Thank you, sir, for your answer. As you have rightly pointed, the job of a congressman is largely legislation. Right now, we already have so many legislation intended to benefit the youth. We have a legislation creating the National Youth Commission. We have legislation giving free education in tertiary level institutions for the youth. If you will be elected as congressman, what specific legislation are you going to push for that is intended specifically to benefit out of school youth in our country?
Yes, before I will going to legislate a law, I think we have to come up with a group of intellectual people like the academe, and because they are the one who is expert in the field of education. So with this program, by creating an institution, and after the result of the academe, wherein they are the one who is, they will be the one who is who learn the real problem or the real issue of the youth. And that by that time we will legislate a law specific for that purpose only.
all right, thank you very much, Fictal Majudin.
Thank you.
And now, our candidate number 5, Mayor Maria Isabel Climaco. And Mayor Beng, pick question number 1.
Okay. Good morning, Ma'am Beng. So, one study in 2020 from the Asian Journal of Distance Education in the wake of COVID-19 was the difficulties in remote learning. Now, two of the difficulties are unstable internet connection and the electric power interruption. Now, the difficulties cited are also observed in Region 9. What reforms or initiatives will you implement to address the difficulties of the students in Region 9?
Paz de Dios y abrazo de Nuestra Señora la Virgen del Pilar y San Jose. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yo si Beng Climaco un maestra. To address the unstable electricity in Zamboanga City, we are part of the IMC, and Samselco has committed to putting up battery generator sets to ensure that unstable electricity for Zamboanga will be resolved. On the other hand, the first question as regards to unstable internet connection, I would legislate a law so that National Telecommunications Office, through the different telcos, will demand only surfing for our pupils and students, and also will demand data, free data for all. Ang isusulong kong batas ay no to data capping, yes to only data for all. Deserve ng ating mga kabataan ang only data, deserve natin ang data para tayo ay makapag-aral at makapagtrabaho. And I thank you. Muchas gracias y vaya con Dios.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
may
you
we
very
remind
much.
our student audience who may give an applause after the candidate. Okay, for the follow-up question.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that answer. Now, ma'am, in light with the changes brought about by COVID-19 and we are in the new normal, so in the education sector, are there particular laws in education, existing laws, that you believe should be enacted or bill you wish to push once you are in Congress?
Sir, if given the opportunity to represent the 1st District of Zamboanga, as an educator, I would like to expand the universal law for giving tertiary education students free education. Based on the study of Colegio de la Ciudad de Zamboanga, 70% of our pupils do not have gadgets. And the reason for dropout rates is because of poverty. To address that, I would like to legislate a law that will subsidize pamasahe at pagkain para sa ating mga kabataan upang silang makapag-aral, upang mabigyan sila ng pagkakataon mag-aral. Secondly, I would like to also push for legislation that will help our pupils in their thesis defense.
I would want thesis making digitalized and that we will have mentors to subsidize them. A third very important law that I would want to pass is that the students undergoing on-the-job training should
Muchísimas gracias, Maria Isabel Pimaco. Thank you very much, ma'am. Let's now move on to the round 2 of our question. Let's have Kaimer Adan Olaso once again. And he picked question number 18.
Good morning, Mr. Olaso. Your question is, what programs do you intend to pass, if elected, to ensure that the education of the youth in the city will never cease to believe that indeed they are the youth is the hope of the motherland?
Well, very simple. We have to allocate funds for our youth. If I'll be in Congress, if given a chance to be elected as representative of District 1 of Zamboanga City, first of all, I would like to allocate funds. Secondly, I would create a bill, as what I've said earlier, the average one bill, because I don't want that any of our youth will be left behind. It's so sad that on our part, being a youth before, we were left behind. Only those who are smart and bright in our school, they were given the chance and opportunity to be on the top. A lot of my classmates, my schoolmates, they were left behind. They were not able to graduate or finish their colleges. Si talyo na Kongreso, pasa ka just the average one bill para pwede ayuda con el mga jóvenes asikaba nila mga studio, and I have to address poverty in Zamboanga City, not only in Zamboanga City, but in the entire Philippines. Jenny kita problema. I will expand the poor piece para hindi lang el talang makita api kinapugonta pwede tiene poor piece. Keri kita todo mga tatormenta pamilya pwede tiene poor piece para pwede sila ba nakaba estudya nila mga anak. Thank you.
Sir, as a follow-up question, what initiatives have you introduced in your capacity as a legislator here in Zamboanga City, which you believe you can continue to bring if you're elected to Congress of the Philippines?
Sir, can you repeat again?
Can you share with us initiatives which you have implemented in your capacity as a councilor of Zamboanga City, which you can bring and continue as a legislator in the Congress of the Philippines?
Well, basically, I'm a teacher. I have taught for 3 years in Zamboanga City College of Marine Sciences and Technology. I think my co-teacher could attest it here. Simply, dali kita pondo para na daton mga youth. As what I'm saying, I really want to pass this bill that I have prepared for the youth. Talama kita average one bill. Kasi sabi to, manada at estudyante yakeda dehado. Manada, in 2015 studies only, if you come to check, 25% of our youth was not able to finish their colleges kay por causa pobre sila. So si tali kita, busca kita pondo para ayuda kung daton mga estudyante. Pwede asya ka ba, el de la profesyon, iko sa kurso sila kere en la eskwela. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Kaimer Adan Olaso. Let's now have our candidate number 2, Wendell Soto. And he picked question number 20.
Good morning, Attorney. There is a large mismatch between educational training and actual jobs. This tends to be a major issue at the tertiary level, and it is furthermore the cause of the continuation of a substantial amount of educated yet unemployed or underemployed people. What programs will you propose to address this issue?
It is true that there is a mismatch at the tertiary level vis-a-vis the jobs. So as a congressman, if given the opportunity, we will address the issue by encouraging the state universities, or we will pass a bill addressing this issue, that students of state universities of higher education institution must update its curriculum. And also, we should also encourage the higher learning institutions to tie up with private companies for purposes of internships. No? We have a program, the government internship program. We have the TESDA, so that our students, upon their graduation, they would be able to find jobs suitable to their courses.
Thank you very much. Follow-up question, ma'am.
Thank you for that, attorney. If you're elected as District 1 representative, would you support, or do you think that there should be a counterpart of the local school board for higher educational institutions and a separate special education fund for higher educational institutions? Would you support such
May you repeat the question, ma'am?
Do you think there should be a counterpart of the local school board for higher educational institutions, and should there be a school education fund for higher education institutions? Would you support such a bill?
That's a good idea, no? We will support it because it is very important that there should be a counterpart, no, for purposes of monitoring whether the curriculum that is being offered by the state universities and colleges or private education institutions are in line with the jobs. Because at present, we have observed the development in information and technology is so fast, for which our students, let's say for example from first year, upon their graduation in college, their curriculum somehow becomes obsolete or passé, and for which we really need to address that. So there's a need for that counterpart.
All right, muchísimas gracias,
Thank you.
Wendell Soto. And now, candidate number 3, Juan Climaco Elago II. And he picked question number 14.
Buenos dias, Attorney Kim.
Buenos dias, Attorney.
The 21st century education is changing its landscape. What programs will you implement or adopt to concretize the long-term program in tertiary education?
I have a different question here, but I will answer your question. Thank you very much. 21st century is now becoming an issue whether or not the human species will continue to survive into the 22nd century. The issue is survival of the entire humankind. Education should be at the forefront. Education should be able to tell what will happen to the climate, let's say, of Zamboanga within the next 50 years. We should come up with the studies to say if the water level of the sea will go up, will it occupy WMSU? How high will the water be? So that WMSU can now make concrete plans on how to change their campus to a better place where they will not be affected. Second, we have to study the agriculture. We have to see what are the kind of crops that can survive in the next 50 years. because the climate will change. Either it will become very rainfall or very dry. So you have to see or adapt or make a crop that will withstand whatever is the consequences, and we will be able to feed our people. This is the challenge of the new education. We cannot think like it's just business as usual. We just graduate lawyers, we just graduate nurses, and bring them abroad. That is a very short-term thinking. We have to think whether Zamboanga City will survive the 21st century, whether Santa Cruz Island will be completely underwater in the next 20 years. That is the kind of research, that is the kind of approach that we need today. And it has to be done as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For our follow-up question,
Thank you very much, Attorney Kim, for being very bold in bringing up this very controversial issue of climate change. If you will be elected as congressman for District 2 of Zamboanga City, is there any, and looking at the current legislative landscape, is there any specific law which you would like to amend? Or is there a specific law which you would like to introduce to make HEIs and our city in general more resilient and enduring in the face of climate change?
Yes. The first of all, I would start with a program that would create a national pool of experts and make a study of the impact. The first impact is the increase of seawater level. How many islands in the Philippines will be submerged in the next 50 years? How many cities will be submerged in the next 100 years? That's the number one. Number two is about our crops. What kind of crops can survive the climate that will be present after 100 years? What should be our mode of production? Should we continue eating rice, or should we start trying to eat less rice and more of anything? That is the kind of study and law that I have to make. Thank you very much.
muchísimas gracias. Juan Climaco Elago II. Let us welcome our candidate number 4, Victal Majudin. And he picked question number 15.
Good morning, sir. What are your platforms to support student mobility in higher education institutions?
Yes. Before I'm going to answer that question, I would like to inform you that I'm a retired police officer in the Philippine National Police way back in 2018. So my platform of government, shall I say, if I become a elected Congress, of course, nowadays we need a modernizations of digitalization like the internet and other provided institution that needs more sophisticated. So in order for us to have a mobility or to fasten our education, we need to collaborate with the Commission on Education and come up with a group of stakeholders to make a research, if possible, with the global competition. We need to be a competitive country, especially in Zamboanga City. Without this competitive education, I think our country will be left behind. So that is my answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Follow-up question, ma'am.
if given the chance, what are hard projects do you intend to pass to address the issues on student mobility?
We need to have a modern internet. We have to come up with continuous power or electricity in order not to stop the ongoing learning online especially. And the other one, we have to support the student by way of giving them education, scholarship program, because everybody should, as I've said a while ago, that we need education in our life. Especially the children of today is the hope of our motherland. So with this support in the Congress, with the collaboration of the Commission on Higher Education, there's no reason for us not to survive. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Fictal Majudin. And now let us welcome candidate number 5, Maria Isabel Climaco. And of course, Mayor Beng, pick question number 7.
Good morning, Mayor Beng. Your question is, how much have you invested in terms of time, effort, in making a difference in the lives of the youth, especially in the area of education here in Zamboanga?
Paz de Dios y abrazo de Nuestra Señora la Virgen del Pilar. In the 9 years that I was given to be a mayor of Zamboanga City, this humble teacher has provided 3.2 billion pesos in 9 years, starting with early childhood care and development up to the collegiate level and tertiary education. I would like to address this to all of the students present here. Education is the key that will enable us to uplift ourselves from poverty. Your city government has ensured teacher training, the support of SUCs and HEIs. For example, in Western Mindanao State University, we're going to put up our College of Governance. We will also improve the computer center, and we're also going to put up our CLA to support the educational needs of our pupils. The very important legacy that I would want to leave is to ensure that our young people are empowered to be able to express themselves in order for them to be who they want to be in the future. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. For the follow-up question,
As a follow-up question, Mayor Beng, what is your take about the initiative from some sector in Zamboanga to increase and create another district for the city of Zamboanga to increase the voices of the people in Congress?
Well, Attorney Marty, it is always my belief that the young people and the future leaders present here are already empowered. The more districts we have in Zamboanga City, the better, because it would mean additional budgets and additional support from the national and local government to help our city. Security, health, and education are the 3 top priorities of our administration. With the 9 years that you have given me as mayor, we enjoy today security and prosperity with opportunities for economic development. If our city is safe with more districts, the better opportunity for economic upliftment of our people. And I thank you. Muchísimas gracias. Ivaya con Dios, youth lang, sakalam sa puso namin. Let us help make our children's future a reality today.
thank you very much, Maria Isabel Climaco. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let us give our congressional candidates a resounding warm round of applause. May we request now our officials for the photo opportunity. Once again, palakpakan po natin kay Mayor Adan Olaso of Adelante Zamboanga Party. Wendell Soto of Lakas Christian Muslim Democrats. Juan Climaco Elaga II, Partido Prosperidad y Amor para la Zamboanga. Fictal Majudin of Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, and Maria Isabel Climaco for Partido Prosperidad y Amor para la Zamboanga. Once again, palakpakan po natin ang ating mga congressional candidates for District 1 and District 2. Students, are you still there? Palakpakan naman dyan. Ayan. And before we conclude this day's fruitful and momentous event, let us all welcome the Vice President for the Academic Affairs of Western Mindanao State University, Dr. Nursha M. Barjose, for the closing remarks.
CHED Regional Director Dr. Ronnie P. Garcia and his team, Dr. Maria Carla A. Ochotorena, WMSU beloved President, Dr. Nelson P. Cabral, the President of Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University, Dr. Jaime Halon, the President of Zamboanga State College of Marine Sciences and Technology, university and college officials, students from these three academic institutions in Asia's Latin City, representative from the COMELEC, from the media, our candidates from congressional, mayor and vice mayor candidates, and the candidates for city councilors if there are, our guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Maayong buntag sa tanan, buenos dias a todos. A beautiful Friday morning, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge, recognize, and deeply appreciate the commitment and participation of our political leaders. And I think, my dear students, they deserve a big, big hooray. May I hear from you? Hep, hep! So thank you so much. You have just heard them. They have spoken. They have presented their plans and contribution to the growth and development of the city and the country as a whole. So it rests now on your hand, my dear students. Your vote is very important. Now let me go back. What is actually the essence, the right to suffrage? The right to suffrage is perceived as the foundation of democracy. It is through this political right that we as nation choose our leaders and determine the future of our country. To vote is not simply to choose from options afforded. It is a conscious and moral practice of appointing someone to be at the helm of government and to be a steward of the nation. Therefore, we must vote wisely. We must vote according to the dictates of our conscience, bearing in the mind that who we choose shall play a significant role in our lives and those of our family and friends. With this in mind, our individual vote is very precious and expensive. Do not have it exchanged for 1,000 or 2. Do not sell your country. Do not sell your vote. What we had today is of great importance. The advocacy of educating the Filipino voters to vote wisely in this period when fake news proliferates. May our learning and actions create a ripple influencing as many Filipinos as possible. Our prayers remain that the Filipino voters, most especially our youth, become mature and wise voters. Be reminded always to vote, not only a right that we need to practice, but a responsibility we need to faithfully fulfill. We exercise our solemn duty not only to vote, but to influence others to vote and to vote correctly. At this juncture, it is worth expressing our thanks for the institution which constituted this collaboration. The Zamboanga Peninsula Polytechnic State University. We have President Cabral, sir, thank you so much. Zamboanga State College of Marine Science and Technology, Sir Jimmy Halon. And of course, our dynamic WMSU President, Ma'am Carla Ochotorena, and the CHED team. Finally, please do not forget that wisely voting is loving your country and family. Muchísimas gracias. Vaya con Dios.
Thank you very much. A warm round of applause, please, to Dr. Nursha M. Barjose. Indeed, we had a fruitful and meaningful journey this morning, isn't it? Muchísimas gracias to our candidates. Once again, let us give them a resounding warm round of applause. Good luck and God bless for the upcoming elections. Thank you also to our organizers, our moderators and panelists, to Dr. Rodi P. Garcia, our Regional Director for CHED 9. Heartfelt gratitude also to our 3 presidents. We have Dr. Maria Carla A. Ochotorena of WMSU, Dr. Nelson P. Cabral of ZPPSU, Dr. Jaime G. Halon for ZSCMST, to the other officials from the Commission on Higher Education, COMELEC officials, some high officials and faculty members from the 3 state universities and colleges, our PIA officials, our media partners, and our students. Muchas gracias to one and all. This has been your host, Mr. Kim Nick A. Bialen from the WMSU College of Teacher Education, saying, sino nga ba ang karapat-dapat iboto? Sino nga ba ang inyong napupusuan? Ikaw naman, kabataan, sinong nagsusulong ng mga hangarin mo? Thus, this 2022 election will determine the state of our future. This has been the 2002 Youth Voters Education Forum. Thank you very much, and God bless us all. May we request our officials, especially our CHED officials, our candidates, PIA officials, representative from the COMELEC, you may now proceed at the WMSU Social Hall for your lunch. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias, Mr. Kimnik Bialen. Kayo ba ay nakapili na ng inyong mga kandidatong ating nasaksihan ngayong araw, lalo na sa ating mga kabataan at sa ating mga Facebook Live viewers? Tayo po ay bumoto ngayong darating na May 9, 2022 elections. Once again, this is Myra Espinosa ng Philippine Information Agency. Bumoto ka and vote Safe Pinas. Muchísimas gracias.